Hello. In this video I'm going to tell you about some very serious problems I've had in the year I've owned my AMG E53 and why this, my first Mercedes, will also be my last. There are many videos online telling you about the AMG E53, the wonderful technology it has, the stunning performance and the utterly glorious sound when you accelerate hard. All of these are true, but there's rather more to this car than those videos tell you. After a year of ownership, I'm going to give you a review of the reasons why I will not buy another Mercedes. The first of these relates to the tyres. After only about 3,000 miles, the car started to vibrate. Now remember, the first 1,500 miles are running in, so very gentle driving, no kick down, no Sport Plus mode. At 4,000 miles, I took the car for its first service, and the dealers told me that the reason it was vibrating was because the tread on the tyres, whilst there was still plenty left, had worn stepped. That is, alternate blocks had worn to different degrees. And that was why my car was vibrating, and if I wanted my expensive Mercedes AMG not to vibrate after only 4,000 miles, I had to buy 4 new tyres. I think that's completely unacceptable. They also said that these Yokohama ultra-low profile tyres were known to do this, which makes me question why Mercedes fit them in the first place. The dealers did say that if I bought 4 new tyres, they would send the old ones off to Yokohama to see if they were faulty, but I really didn't feel that that was an acceptable solution. You shouldn't have to buy 4 new tyres for a car after only 4,000 miles. Another problem with the AMG E53 relates to the kick-operated tailgate. The idea is that you can wave your foot underneath the bumper and it will open or close the tailgate. It very seldom does this when I want to, but if I'm halfway through lifting something heavy into or out of the boot and I shift my balance slightly, the tailgate invariably closes on me. Because I'm halfway through lifting something very, very heavy, I can't reach up to push the button and make it stop, and I just have to let the tailgate squash me. Also, if you wish to carry a dog in the car, you may well want the mesh in place between the load space and the rest of the car, but you will not want the cover to go over the dog. Now, of course, you can clip the cover out of the way so it doesn't go over the dog, but then a very substantial amount of space is inaccessible because the cover hangs down some distance behind the back of the seat. Other cars I've driven, such as the Audi A6, make the cover and the mesh in separate parts so you can completely remove the cover and leave the mesh in place. But on the Mercedes, it's one unit, so you can't do anything about it. If you want the mesh, you have to have the cover there, and even when it's folded out of the way, it obstructs quite a significant amount of the load space. After speaking to my local dealers, they tell me that the only way to disable the kick action of the tailgate and stop it closing on me when I'm halfway through lifting something in or out is to disable all keyless access functions, which I really don't think is a good solution. It's one of the main advertised features of the car. Another area in which the AMG E53 scores very badly is in ergonomics. As you can see, I have positioned my seat and steering wheel so that I can see all of the instrument cluster. There is actually a bank of 6 switches down here. 3 of them have switches in and 3 of them are blank. Because Mercedes have simply picked the bank of switches up and moved it to the right-hand side of the car to make a right-hand side drive version, the 3 that you can see from the driving position are blank, and the 3 that have switches on are completely concealed behind the gear lever. It's impossible to see them at all. Mercedes really should have made a mirror image version of this switch bank for right-hand drive so that you could see the 3 positions that have switches in and the 3 blanks could be hidden. Worse than that is the centre console, which has not been reversed for right-hand drive. This is my view from the driving seat. So I have a volume control for the music on the steering wheel. This volume control is for the passenger, it's on my side of the car. That's not so much of a problem. Far worse than that is over here is the control for the air suspension. It has some LEDs on it so I can see how it's set. I've also got the settings for which mode the car is on and some other important buttons. From a normal driving position, they are completely invisible. Other manufacturers reverse the centre console completely for right-hand drive so that you can see the important controls you need when you're driving, but Mercedes have not done so. The final problem is that there is a bug in the firmware in the car. It's not a serious bug, and I have created a separate YouTube video about this. I first reported the bug to my local dealers, Lookers in Canterbury, shortly after getting the car, and they looked at it and said that the bug didn't exist and I was mistaken. They'd been unable to recreate it and I hadn't properly understood how the car operates. After 9 months of complaining about the bug, taking the car in and them telling me that they'd been unable to reproduce the bug and I clearly didn't understand how the car worked, I took a YouTube video with a camera fixed in the front passenger seat of the car and sent them the link. The video clearly shows the bug happening and it's not intermittent. And they then said, yes, we acknowledge there's a fault with your car, but we have tried other cars that have the same firmware and they don't do this. So it's just a fault with your car. Please bring it in for us and we will fix it. I took the car into them and they provided me with a courtesy car to use whilst they fixed it. It's about a 5-mile journey home from the dealers to my house, and I tried the bug in the courtesy car. And yes, the courtesy car does it too. All cars fitted with this version of software do it. What the bug is isn't important right now. It's not a serious bug. But the fact that I had to complain for 9 months and take a YouTube video and then take the car back for a further 2 days before the dealers were able to recreate something which happens every single time a documented feature of the car is used is really not acceptable and does make me question their competence. When I did question their competence in the dealers, the young man on reception actually said to me, "We are the ones with the Mercedes badges on our shirts, sir." Given that the YouTube video I took clearly shows that I was right and that the bug does exist and that it does happen every single time the documented function is used exactly as I described, I really feel that that kind of attitude is completely unacceptable. In conclusion, the videos which tell you that the AMG E53 has staggering performance and sounds absolutely glorious are true. But unless you are prepared to buy 4 new tyres every 3,000 or 4,000 miles or put up with unpleasant vibration between 65 and 70 miles an hour, you really shouldn't buy this car. If you live in the UK, think very carefully about the poorly implemented right-hand drive modifications. And if Lookers are your local dealer, then I really, I'm afraid, cannot recommend them based on my own experience. This will therefore be my last Mercedes, and I am going back to Audi, where I have always had very good treatment from the local dealers and I have not had this kind of problem.